Five, four, three. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports. Welcome to my Saturday morning live stream. Today is Saturday, May the 16th, 2026. And I'm reporting live from my house. Good to see each and every one of you on board this morning. Let's see who's on board. Tom Graber is not only here, but gets the ball rolling with donating one Dugroz Reports membership. That's just as good as a $3 super chat. Celebrate. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Tom. Tio Rico, Nuracan, Juan in the MIA, Ian, Wongway Travel, Jake's Loves Jesus are the ones that I'm seeing here, although I'm sure there are others lurking in the background. Why don't we just do what we normally do and get started with Dugroz data points. This is me going around the world of points, miles, cash back, and more. Anything that I think is interesting. Today I'm going to try a new thing. I'm going to do alternating personal data points, public data points. Let me know if you like that concept. Thank you to the 32 of you who are on board. Click the thumbs up button. More people will come join us here this morning. The first data point is personal. This is the Wells Fargo rewards portal, and you might notice if you look at this here, this is at WVU, West Virginia University, parking something Gates, Morgantown, West Virginia, $1.50. So why is this significant? So I'm trying to use transit on my Wells Fargo autograph to trigger 3x. And I've had this thing where it's like, for some reason, I just have this desire to actually get 3x on transit. And every time I try it, it doesn't work. Something goes wrong. Like I used a parking garage in downtown Des Moines. It was government owned, so it came up as government service rather than transit. Okay. I went to visit a church friend who lives in Des Moines and parked at a parking garage connected to their apartment. Well, guess what? It was owned by the apartment building, and they coded it as general services or lodging or something like that. So I didn't get 3x on transit. But you know what? When I went to Morgantown, West Virginia, I parked in this parking garage on the campus of West Virginia University, which led me into their little PRT, personal rapid transit system that I liked. And drum roll, please. Oops, got to choose the right tab. Drum roll, please. Guess what? I got 3x on transit. Wells Fargo shows it in a weird way. They show your base earnings and they round to the nearest point, which is nice. So $1.50 rounded up to 2. And then the bonus earnings took the $1.50 and gave me 2 more points, and I got 3. So I actually got 5. So I got more than 3 points per dollar, which would have been 4 points. I actually got 5. So yeah, just stupid personal excitement at finally getting 3x on transit on a whopping $1.50. Dad on a mission stops by. Stinky Monkey Baby checking in. Good morning, Dugroz Nation. Gentleman Explorer has become a channel member. Thank you, Gentleman Explorer. You may have been one before. I can't remember, but that's just as good as a $3 super chat as well. Celebrate. Thank you for your business. Luke is here, the only show I watch on a regular basis. Oh, thanks, Luke. That's very nice of you. TM-Travel says, good morning. Now, I thought your name was Timote, but it's showing differently this morning. Kevin Hawthorne's here from Lakeland, Florida. Good to see you. MR says, good morning from America's third largest city. Let's see. New York, Los Angeles. It's either going to be Chicago or Houston, one of the two. I'm going to say Chicago. Let me know if I'm wrong. Next Dugroz data point here, City thank you points. This is the last weekend to share points between cardholders. Hat tip frequent miler. And it ends on May 17th. Remember, they're doing away with this. Not that point sharing in cities always been real popular, because once you trigger that, it expires after 90 days. But it does say here for frequent miler, don't wait until midnight on Sunday or close to midnight, because City is notorious for making changes before midnight Eastern time. Even though they're big on Eastern time, 6 o'clock Eastern time for City nights. Hey, speaking of City nights, I had some ice cream lately. Got some for the family, actually, at a place called Something Scoop. And I did trigger City nights on that. There's really nothing exciting about this. Just I don't know. I just like getting city nights on purchases. So I did. And just showing that I did there. Now, obviously, doing the math, you would have to really figure out is the difference between 3x and 6x worth paying the whole annual fee? How much do you value those credits at? So on and so forth. And that's something everybody's going to answer differently. And then taking the city nights theme even further, last night, ate with some family at Outback Steakhouse. Guess what I paid with? City Strata Elites. It was a Friday night. It was after 6 o'clock in New York City. So, and I had a New York strip steak to celebrate city nights. Not really, just that's what I chose. I mean, I did have a New York strip steak, but it wasn't because of city nights. I didn't think of that until just now. So that was just last night. So I won't be able to show you the picture, but more city nights points coming my way. 6 total points. Good morning, David. How you doing? Good to see you on board. 44 people on board. Hey, that's a pretty good, hearty amount. I appreciate that. Today's theme of the day is called Rich Card Dad, Poor Card Dad. And what I'm doing is taking two different guys who live in two different cities, one with a low cost of living, one with a high cost of living. They're both dads, so we're calling them Rich Card Dad, Poor Card Dad. And we're going to compare them and just see what life is like for those of us who are the poors in points and miles. Filmo's on board. He's been a member for 30 months. Can't watch today. Have a great weekend, everybody. Now, I thought you had a problem where somehow it canceled your membership and you re-signed up and it said you'd only been a member for 6 weeks or something. So apparently whatever that was got resolved because that's a pretty big milestone. Thanks for your loyalty, Filmo. I really appreciate it. Celebrate. Tariq's on board. Good morning. Good to see you, Tariq. Thanks for being here. Again, click the like button if you've not yet done so. I do need to pause for just a moment and acknowledge a contribution. Juan from the MIA has put $3 in the tip jar, and I'll explain what that is after I celebrate. Celebrate. Thank you, Juan. I appreciate that. So there are ways to support me directly by giving a super chat or super sticker. Y'all know what that is. We'll talk about channel memberships in a little bit here. But also, if you look in the first line of the URL, there's a thing called a tip jar. And that's if you want to give anonymously or just give offline so that YouTube takes less of my revenue. Thank you either way. Thank you so much, Juan. Jake Loves Jesus says, hey, Dugroz, I am partially invested in Rove, but I got a Capital One Venture X recently. Thoughts on Capital One offers for Travel Eraser or Rove for 1.5 cents value? I do have some thoughts, Jake. Thank you, but they're kind of hit, miss here, there, and everywhere. Let's see. Capital One offers for Travel Eraser. Do you mean to build up your bank and then use it on Travel Eraser? Well, first of all, Capital One offers can be really good. I'm constantly getting offers on CVS Pharmacy, which are usually 15x. And even though the terms say gift cards don't count, if I buy like an Amazon gift card or a Gift of College gift card, that has triggered it every time for me in person. Maybe not online, but in person. And then Dollar General for 5x. And there's a Dollar General right on my way to work, so I can stop there very easily, buy some tuna, some bread, mayonnaise, pickles. They have gift cards too, and I've even bought Dollar General gift cards with that before. And then Travel Eraser, yeah, I like it. I know it's only 1 cent per point, but I use it. Boy, wouldn't it be cool if they took that up to 1.25? That would be cool. Now that versus Rove for 1.5 cents. The problem with Rove is like, I shouldn't say the problem. It's a good value, but like basically what that comes out to is roughly every 6 or 7 hotels is free. 6, 7. Look at me, I'm 9. Anyhow. Yeah, but you have to actually pay for the hotels. Whereas using the Capital One at Dollar General, CVS, whatever, it's just things you would normally spend your money on. So if I could only invest in one of those strategies, I'd go with Capital One. But the taco commercial girl from the early 2000s comes into play here. Why not both? All right, thank you. More than 50 people on board. I'm going to keep on going, but thank you for clicking thumbs up. Somebody needs to fill in for John, who I haven't seen yet, and say something like, 52 people on board, but only 12 have clicked thumbs up, something along those lines. By the way, I'm showing you the Dugroz data points. You can feel free to comment on any of them. Speaking of Dugroz data points, let's keep going here. Baseball fans, Capital One once again has great seats for 5,000 miles each. If you're a fan of Major League Baseball, for the months of June and July, there are 4 cardholder exclusive seats for each game. Not that they necessarily have each team, but they have most of them. So if you are into baseball, go ahead and poke around and see what you can find there at Capital One. If any of you have had a great baseball experience, let me know. I even know that they have this for minor league baseball as well, because I've seen it here in Des Moines for the AAA Iowa Cubs. Never pulled the trigger. Sometimes those minor league ones have fun things with them too. Like you get to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" at the 7th inning stretch. You get to throw out the first pitch, maybe meet and greet with some players, those kind of things. Whereas, minor league game's not as like high visibility as a major league game, but more fun stuff. You are welcome, Jake. Thank you for your question and for being on board. That was Hat Tip Frequent Miler. This one is Hat Tip to Upgraded Points. There's a new 30% transfer bonus from Chase to Southwest. Is it a good deal? I think it's a good deal, and this goes through, I think, middle of June. Don't quote me on that. If anybody has the exact date, put it over there in the comments. I was actually just looking at plane tickets to get my wife and son to North Carolina. I ended up booking with American Points, although those are refundable. So if a good enough deal came along, I might change my mind. But my backup was going to be Southwest. I'm like, points. I don't have enough. I don't have a lot of Chase points. I hate to transfer them. This would make it a little easier. And in the comment section, somebody said the big deal about Southwest points is not the value, because it's usually anywhere from like 1.2 to 1.5 cents per point. It's the fact that it's refundable, and because they're points, they never expire. Unlike cash, Southwest flight credits used to never expire, but now they do expire. So it's good. It's great for booking backup flights or a flight where you're just not all that confident you're going to take it. A flight where you're not that confident you're going to take it. A-tier says, I just got tickets on Capital One yesterday. It'll be the second game this way this year. Fun times and fueled by those Capital One offer earnings. Absolutely. I was going to ask which stadium, and you just said here, Astros. You know what I remember about the Astros is, I don't know if this is still the case. You let me know. Long time ago, back in the 90s, when I watched a lot of Cubs baseball, I lived in Southeast Iowa, so WGN Chicago was the only baseball team I could watch reliably. And at that time, remember when the Astros were in the major leagues? I mean, the National League? In center field, like they had the warning track, and then the last like 12 feet was like sloped upwards at an angle. Is that still a thing in the Astros stadium? Let me know, because it was rare but fun to watch the center fielder have to kind of run uphill to catch a pop fly, a deep pop fly. Okay. More on points and miles. Not more on points and miles, but more on points and miles. Personal data point here. This is from US Bank. It's called Dad's Checking Account. I'm power of attorney on my dad's checking account. I had to withdraw some money from an ATM that was not a US Bank ATM recently on his behalf. Sort of like, the right ATM's way across town. I don't want to, I'll pay the $6 or whatever it is. So withdrew $100 with a $3.25 fee charged by the ATM owner. And then also, as I thought would happen, US Bank charged me their non-US Bank ATM fee, which the big proprietary banks tend to do, and sales tax on the fee. But then I was pleasantly surprised to see that US Bank reversed it. They gave me back the $3 and the sales tax. So what I'm trying to figure out is, my dad has had a US Bank checking account for ages. I mean, before it was even US Bank, it was a small hometown bank that got bought out by US Bank. Is that normal? Does US Bank normally reverse ATM fees like a couple times a month for everyone? Or is it just because he has a certain special checking account? If anybody knows, let me know. Hey, Jason, how you doing? Doug, I see you. And then continuing on with US Bank, this is on my Altitude Reserve credit card. Just something worth noting. When I went to West Virginia and rented a car, I did it through the portal. So I got my normal 1x, and then 9 points per dollar on top of it. So put it together, you get 10 points per dollar on car rentals, hotels, and the portal. Knew about that. Had a tree removed. Let's skip over that. And then, of course, I knew there'd be some tolls, and a few days later, I got this e-toll Avis, but it only earned 1 cent per point. And when you click on it and look in more detail, it coded as like this third-party company called like e-tolls on behalf of Avis. So it's not directly from Avis. U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve says you get 3 points per dollar on rental cars booked third party. So I thought, well, it's going to come from Avis. At least I'll get 3 points per dollar. I mean, 10 versus 30 points. I'm not going to freak out about it. But no, because a third party processes it, I only got 1 point per dollar. Oh, well, I'll survive. Probably. Tariq says, are you aware there's a book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Tobey? Well, I don't know who Tobey is, but yes, I am aware there's a book. I will be honest, the title is kind of clickbait just to get more people in here. I've never actually read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, so I don't even know. I mean, I kind of know what the concept of the book is because I Googled it last night, but it's just a title. That's all. But yes, I do have some awareness. New Again says, good afternoon. U.S. Bank will waive bank fees if you're part of a special group. Oh, we're special. It's like, are you originally from Union Bank of Ottumwa, Iowa? You're special. So apparently we're special because they've never had like a private client. They've never been that kind of level or anything like that. So I guess it's just the older account. Next data point, this one is Hat Tip Frequent Miler. MasterCard launches their own lounge called Taste by Priceless. First of all, awkward name award candidate, like The Edit. Would you like to go to the Taste by Priceless Lounge? Why don't they just call it the MasterCard Lounge? That'd be so much easier. Yes, so there's 2 lounges for MasterCard holders. Details in a second. One is in São Paulo, Brazil, and the other one is in Hong Kong, a semi-autonomous jurisdiction of China. And I'm not going to either of those places, but if any of you do, let me know. Who gets in for free? Well, it's only the people who have the new MasterCard Super Ultra World Elite or whatever it's called. What is that called? I don't have my wallet with me, but the only ones right now are the Built MasterCard, the Built Palladium, I should say, the City Strata Elite, and then one of the American Airlines ones are the only World Hyper Elite MasterCards that there are. So not everybody's going to get in. If you have any other MasterCard, you can get in for, I think, like $60, $75, something like that. Let me know if you've been to one or will be passing through either of those airports. Actually, I'd love to know if anyone's passing through either of those airports, even if you're not visiting the lounge. We have 64 people on board. Thank you so much. Keep clicking thumbs up. I make a standard offer that if you donate exactly $1.49 as displayed on the screen, I'll give you 1,000 Dugroz points. So go ahead and break those out now. Further clarification from Tariq. There's a book published in 1997 by Robert Kiyosaki called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. There you go. Kiyosaki, not Tobey. Thank you. Appreciate that. I've heard you should read it sometime. I also heard somewhere once that, like, and this may have been complete clickbait, like, oh, that author's a complete fraud or something like that. He made it up. He didn't really have a Rich Dad, Poor Dad. New Again says the premise of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is don't go to college or even be a wage or salaried employee. Instead, start your own business. Yeah, my 5-second Google search made it sound like that's right, but thank you for the clarity. Giron Sano, I probably said that wrong. Let me try that again. Giranasso says hello from Texas. Right back at you. Thank you. Yuri G is here. Hi, guys. A bit late. No problem. Travel Fan 11 says, hi, Dugroz. I just applied for Built to get the valuable Built points. We'll use Point Accelerator as 3X Everywhere card to boost my United miles earnings or for Alaska. Do you have the Built card? No, I don't. I think I probably will get it eventually. I'll probably start with the Obsidian because I'm more of the poor dad. I'm not so much the rich dad. Interestingly, we'll be kind of sort of hitting on that concept today. Not necessarily Built Palladium versus Obsidian specifically, but like the things that are right for some people are not right for other people in the theme of the day. I don't have it yet because it's not a high priority. Secondly, I am in the process of applying for a home equity line of credit, so I am gardening right now. For the last little while, I've done business cards only. I think since the beginning of this year, I've done nothing but business cards. The last personal card I opened was, the City Strata Elite, I think, back around middle of December, early first week in December, something like that. Nuracan says, U.S. Bank torments me, giving me a credit card with only a $500 credit limit, the Altitude Go, and the Cash Plus. The only connect I have a $5 credit line, which is product changed from the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve. I'm assuming you mean 5,000, but yeah. Only on the Connect do I have a $5,000 credit line, which was product changed from the Altitude Reserve. I've heard a lot of people say that, and you guys know if you've watched my channel for any length of time, U.S. Bank loves me. Maybe I'm part of that special group. I inherited from my parents because I was part of some bank they bought out. But like, they approve me for everything, no questions asked. Getting like $23,000 credit limits on new cards. Never had a problem getting 10,000 point retention offers where Stan the Credit Frog is getting 1,000 points. A lot of people are getting no retention offer whatsoever. So yeah, I apologize to the way that U.S. Bank handles most people. I guess I'm just an elite of some sort. Please fetch my insurance out of the hot air balloon, Jeeves. Texas Dog says, good morning, Dugroz and the Dugites. Hey, that could be a band name. Dugroz and the Diehard sounds better. The incline was removed from the Astros baseball park prior to 2017. It was there from 2000 to 2016, their current park, which I still call Minute Maid. Okay, I said back in the 90s, my Cubs watching did trickle into the early 2000s till like 2008, 9, 10. So yeah, that makes sense. Checks out. Thanks for the clarification, A-Tier. Tia Rico says, note, next April, I will be in Hong Kong. Very good. If you have any of the Elite World MasterCards, stop on by the lounge and let us know what you think. Travel Fan 11 takes me up on the offer and drops a $1.49 super sticker. Celebrate. Thank you very much. I'll have to get you my Dugroz points here. Let's see. Where are they? Oh, they're in my calculator. There you go. 1,000 Dugroz points for you. Yuri says, I just got 10,000 points retention and will keep it for another year. I assume you mean a U.S. Bank card, probably. Texas Dog says, I still call it Enron Park. I miss Tal's Hill. Is Tal's Hill the name of the little slope, I take it? Enron. Yuri said, I just tested the $325 U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve Portal credit, and it looks cashable. Very good. Luke is here from Luke's Points and Miles. Well, he's been here for a little while. And adds this, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Regardless how you feel about Robert, it's a good read. Okay, I'll hop on it. Kevin Wynn is here, says, hopping in to say hi, I'm in San Diego. I'm going home to San Jose, California on Monday. I arrive in San Diego on Friday. Very good. Awesome. Safe travels. Yuri says that U.S. Bank reduced my credit line on the go from 5,000 to 500, which I almost never use. That's weird because like every quarter I get a letter in the mail from U.S. Bank saying like, hey, do you want a credit limit increase on your Cash Plus? We'll give you one. Now they have to do a hard pull, so I turn them down. I did it one time, but most of the time, all times but one, I turn them down because I don't want the hard pull. 63 people on board. We briefly cleared 70 and then dropped down. So if you come back and you're one of those 7 people that left, why'd you go? I need some research. Let me know. But the rest of you, hit that thumbs up button. Ian says, HELOC, let's go. Make that money. No, I'm sorry. Helco, let's go. Make that money. Maybe you meant HELOC. I'm not sure. Source King is here. How you doing, Source King? My Swedish buddy. Flying from Chicago to Hong Kong, the longest flight from Chicago. It's number 1 to do on my rankings. Oh, I'm sorry. Flying, not like I am flying, but like doing this is a bucket list thing, it sounds like. MR says, U.S. Bank won't love you unless you love them first, in my experience. And that makes sense because I had a checking account for multiple decades prior to me getting into credit cards. And I would go and my dad would deposit $20 into my savings account because you'd get a certificate for a free McDonald's hamburger and pop. And I would pay the extra 10 cents to upgrade to the cheeseburger. Nuracan responds to Yuri G. Nice. They didn't offer me no retention when I product changed. Still waiting for transfer partners. When? Hey, there might be a data point in that a little bit. Ian says, did you already find a bank for the HELOC? I can ask around if anybody knows of a good bank in your area. Yeah, unfortunately, I apologize. Maybe I should have asked for referrals and stuff. Already done. Signings this Thursday. Past the point of no return. Yuri says, by the way, US Bank just allowed to have cashback deals on their cards, even if you have a business card. I just noticed it today. Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. I'll have to look into that. New Again says US Bank has lots of good cards, potentially be a top 4 issuer, but they need to come on with the transfer partners. New Again says US Bank believes in Dr. Roz and you. Dr. Dude. I believe you can fly. And Texas Dog drops 99 cents. Thank you, Texas Dog. Celebrate, celebrate. Every penny helps. Every penny drives the algorithm. Okay, let's hop back into some data points. Then I'll catch up on comments in a little bit, y'all. Let's see. Did I talk about that? Yep, the MasterCard Lounge, new line. Okay, Frequent Miler reminds us there's 1 week to go before the World of Hyatt category changes go into effect. They say they're not inspiring. And this was posted on the 12th, and it goes into effect on the 20th. So really, you've got until Wednesday. Let's see, 8 a.m. Central Time on May 20th. Weird that it's Central Time. I wonder where Hyatt's corporate headquarters is. Maybe it's in Chicago or something like that. Do any of you know? Maybe it's in my backyard here in Des Moines, Iowa, and I just never noticed. Maybe they just go off wherever I live. Anyway, Tim also says, in past years, we've sometimes seen those changes go live slightly earlier. So I'd be best to lock in the current redemption rates by end of day on the 19th. So really, you have until Tuesday if you're going to be doing some Hyatt type stuff. Another hot tip from Frequent Miler. Discover It cards are moving to Capital One officially starting on July 27th. More bonus spend categories, Capital One offer access, and more. So those rotating categories are still going to be a thing. They will have access to Capital One offers, is what they say, which is golden. The thing we all want to know, but we don't know yet, is will you be able to move cash earned on those Discover It cards over to a Venture card, Venture X, Venture One, like you can with, say, Quicksilver or Savor, something like that. Whether or not you can is sort of like the number one concern on our minds, but I don't know if it is for everyone else. So TBD. I'd be surprised if they don't get there eventually, but maybe not right away. It will be administered from the Capital One website or Capital One app. I think it also said on there that if you are the primary card holder, your account number will stay exactly the same. But if you're an authorized user, they're going to do it the way they do on other Cap One cards, where you and your wife or whoever your player 2 is or your auth user is have separate card numbers. I actually really like Capital One's app and website. They do a good job with that. Yuri says, I have large limits on the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve and the U.S. Bank Altitude Connect, 32 and 22 respectively. Whoa. Yuri thinks U.S. Bank's been on a downhill fall lately. I agree with that. He thinks there will be no U.S. Bank transfer partners. No Way Hefe says, good morning, Dugroz. It'll be interesting if Capital One improves Discover acceptance and allows other banks to use the Discover network. That's what we're all kind of hoping for. New Again says, U.S. Bank downhill. They've released multiple new cards recently. Churnable. Well, definitely with the churnable part. To which Yuri says, and a lot of negative changes. Nurcan says, does seem like that. Wanted to know if it was sarcasm. Got a Kroger card just before they discontinued all the Kroger cards. New Again says, the Smartly was doomed. It took U.S. Bank down with it. I agree with that. It burnt other than that. No, wait. But other than that, U.S. Bank has strong offerings, just need decent transfer partners. If U.S. Bank would bring back the 1.5 on their portal, Altitude Reserve, etc., and just forego transfer partners, I'd be perfectly happy. The problem is they nerfed it and have not added transfer partners. And it's sort of like you can accept the nerfing if you can have the transfer partners, but right now we don't have either one. So come on, do something. Poke, 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 poke. It's like that meme of poking a dead thing with a stick. Come on, do something. MR fills in my Hyatt curiosity. Hyatt's owned by the J.B. Prickster, the current governor of Illinois. Its corporate headquarters are located in Chicago. Is his last name actually Prickster, or are you using a nickname? Anyhow, let's get, New Again said, I would take US Bank over Capital One any day. MR says the Pritzker family, not him specifically. I've got some more things to talk about. Back to a personal data point here. Do you remember I went to West Virginia a couple weeks ago? Of course you do. I talked about it incessantly. I stayed at the Hampton Inn in Wheeling, West Virginia, but I booked this using my City Strata Elite's $300 annual hotel travel credit. I have to stay a minimum of 2 nights, and I booked it before December 31st. So that was my 2025 award, even though I didn't stay till April of 26. And of course, booking third party doesn't show up in your Hilton app. But when I got to the front desk, I asked them nicely, would you please add this stay to my loyalty number? And they said, sure, I can do that. What's your loyalty number? Just to let you know, it's not going to earn you any points. I said, that's okay. I just want it to show up in my stay history. So it does show up in my stay history, 2 nights. However, if you take a look at my account, it doesn't actually show it there. You see just 1 night of my progress to diamond. I need 49 more. The 1 night was when I did a loyalty eligible booking through Rove, did a 1-night staycation with my wife for Valentine's Day here in Des Moines earlier this year. So basically, if you do third party and convince the front desk clerk to put your Hilton honors number on it, all it's going to do is show in your history just so you can review where you'd stayed. Doesn't get you any points, doesn't count towards status at all. We all expected that, but sometimes it's nice to have a confirmation. Yuri doubling down his prediction there will not be U.S. Bank transfer partners. Giro Nasso says, on the triple cash train, I had to open a CD, but can't beat the $3K credit card funding. It got me a couple of subs. How did you do credit card funding through U.S. Bank? I wasn't able to do that. Very cool. I'll have to look into it in more detail. Gentleman Explorer says the Pritzker Architectural Prize, named for the governor's family, is a real deal and is kind of like the Oscars for architects. Okay, very good. Thank you. I went to Albany, New York, April before last, so not a month ago, but a year and a month ago. And they have this public performing arts center called The Egg. It's kind of like a oval cut in half, the top half cut off on stilts. And it's kind of a small auditorium. I think it only holds about 350 people, but there's a plaque on the side of the legs where you go in that says something like, I remember it was kind of like the something award for outstanding achievement in the field of architecture. And if you know the Simpsons reference, there's a song that goes, it's the first annual Montgomery Burns Award for outstanding achievement in the field of excellence. And it's basically an award that they made up because Homer, and gave it to Homer so he wouldn't sue them because radiation ruined his sperm count. But I thought of that, the award for outstanding achievement in the field of architecture. I wonder if it was a Pritzker award. It was from like the 70s or something. 64 people on board. I must not be as compelling as usual, so any comments, any thumbs up is sure appreciated. Source King says, I got 5X at Whole Foods with the Freedom Flex. Is that something I should have known? I don't remember anyone talking about it when they announced the quarterly categories. I can solve this mystery for you here, Source King. So the current rotating category on the Freedom and Freedom Flex is Amazon. And Amazon is Whole Foods is a wholly owned subsidiary of Amazon. So anything that Amazon gets a bonus on, Whole Foods does as well. That's why you got the 5X. Whole Foods is a wholly owned subsidiary. Hey, see what I did there? Do you see what I did there? Uh-oh. I clicked a button. Do you see what I did there, people? We need to acknowledge that comment. Thanks, girls. Okay. Let's continue on with some of our Dugroz data points here. I've got a lot of them this morning. A truckload. Okay. Found this on Reddit, but it was on Uber's official Reddit comment. Suspension of Discover in the United States. Basically, due to costly Discover card processing fees, Discover will no longer be accepted on the Uber app in the United States starting in a few weeks. You can use other payment methods. In the comment section, someone says they're not going to go through with it. This is just Uber playing hardball with Capital One because they want them to make a sweet customized deal to pay less in fees. But there is a possibility starting in a few weeks, you won't be able to use anything on the Discover network with Uber. Who knows if that actually will happen or not, but that's what they be saying. Did I do that one? I did. All right. Thanks for bearing with me here. We're going to talk about different ways you can support my channel temporarily, briefly here. It won't take very long. Don't worry. One thing you can do is you can join this channel as a member. You can be a Dugroz diehard. It's my one and only one membership level. It's only $3 a month. Cancel anytime. And you will have access to over 65, nearly 70 members only videos. I just did one earlier this week that's something like the discrepancy between what you dream of and real life. Does that sound interesting? If it does, try it. Sign up, try it for a couple months. If you later cancel, I won't be offended. Other ways you can support my channel. I mentioned this earlier because Juan and the MIA did it, but the very first link in the description box is a tip jar link. So if you want to give me money anonymously, that's an option there. I will still try my best to acknowledge it during the live stream. And you can also, very little fees. It's only like 2 or 3% fees, whereas YouTube takes like 30%. So if you just want to give up the name on the screen aspect in return for supporting me more betterly, you sure can. And then there's one last way you can support my channel, and that's by getting a good night of sleep. And if you're thinking, Doug, how does getting a good night of sleep help your channel? Well, the mattress on the screen right now is the Nest Bedding Sparrow Signature Hybrid Mattress, which my wife and I have been sleeping on for over 6 years. Here's a picture of me 6 years ago talking about it. And here's a picture of me much more recently reviewing it. In the description box, you'll find a link to that video and a link to Nest Bedding. Yes, I am a Nest affiliate, so I get, 2 or 3% kickback if you do that. Now, you can't do Rakuten and mine at the same time, but there's a reason why I like it so much. There is a removable top layer with a zipper, so you can get a replacement top layer anytime without ditching the entire mattress, making them much more sensible, eco-friendly, logical things that you can reuse. And the first time you replace it, it's free. They call it the Lifetime Renewal Exchange. There's also a 365-night risk-free trial where you can send the whole thing back, get your money back. And there's a lifetime warranty. So check it out. I think you'll think it's fairly cromulent. Next Dugroz data point, upgraded points tells us that you can buy Air Canada points with up to a 100% bonus between now and May 31st. Up to, because it's targeted. Not everybody gets this. But if you're on the top targeted tier, you get a 90% bonus. And if you get the top rate, that comes out to roughly 1.36 cents per point on the Aeroplan side of things. Now, if you're using it for boom, pay yourself back like I do, that would not be worth doing because you only pay yourself back at a rate of 1.25 Aeroplan cents per point. And remember, this is coming in as Aeroplan points, not Chase points. So you can't say 1.625. So you'd be losing money. But there's lots of things where Aeroplan is better than that. If you're booking Lufthansa flights, you're booking Delta flights. Said that wrong. If you're booking United flights, they have like 30 different foreign carriers they work with. They have more than any other airlines, my understanding. So let me know what your best use of Aeroplan points is. How many cents per point you got, all of that kind of stuff. Okay. MR is mentioning Chicago Architectural Boat Tour, one of the best things to do in the city. I'll keep that in mind for future reference. Let's see. Someone said high limit, set cash advance to 25% of credit line. I'm not following you. Give me more details. Let's see. Yep, we already talked about that. New Again says US Bank, one of those few programs where if you know, you know. And Source King says for sure, but no YouTubers brought it up as far as I remember. Gentleman loves that boat tour and maybe an Cheval burger. Got one here in New York City now. Okay. All right. New Again says LOL at Capital One Discover, weakest issuer in the game. Don't disagree. Nick 1828 is dropping by to leave a like and a comment. Will. Watch the replay later. Thank you for feeding the algorithm. Appreciate that, Nick. Revolving Points says, any new strategery breakdown videos for members upcoming? I enjoyed your 2024 breakdown. Thank you. TBD. I haven't decided yet. Maybe, maybe not. We're still thinking that over. Critical Chris says, Doug, are you still thinking about producing some content around any cashback cards in your stack? It's not on the short list. I'll put it that way. I probably should. I need to do more mass appeal videos. I do too many nerdy, super niche videos, and that's why my channel grows kind of slowly. But I am a niche nerd, so it's hard for me to, go against the grain of my own self-aggrandizement. I don't know what I'm saying. Here's a hot tip from Frequent Miler. Choice Hotels is doing a summer promo. Get 8,000 points for every 2 stays. You can redeem that for a $50 gas gift card. This is probably not worthy of a mattress run because even if you only paid say $40 a hotel, that's $80. 8,000 points would get you one really, really low-end hotel, maybe crappy one. But if you're going to be staying somewhere anyway in a relatively cheap hotel, then it's definitely worth doing. Interesting that you can redeem it for a $50 gas gift card if you don't want to take the 8,000 points. I think that's just so they can market it as a stay twice, get a free $50 gift card to a gas station. I'd rather just have the 8,000 points because I can, not all the time, but fairly regularly get 1.25 cents per point with Choice Hotels. So I would rather do that. 60 people on board. Usually that number goes up. Am I doing something wrong? Do I sound funny? Do I look funny? Let me know if there's something wrong. Maybe it's just the topic's not that compelling. We'll keep going, though. We were talking about Air Canada selling their points to some people on sale. Here's some more Air Canada nude. Some more Air Canada news. Hat tip upgraded points. Air Canada is expanding their Airbus A321 XLR flights to London with 2 new routes. I'm not an av geek who likes all things aviation, but my understanding is that's kind of like a long, skinny airplane that can fly long routes, but it's not that big. It's not an A380 or anything like that. And the 2 new routes that they are going to do are, let me check. Here it is. From Halifax and Ottumwa. Oh, my hometown. Awesome. They're flying out of the Ottumwa airport. Wait, hold on. Oh, this just in. It's actually Ottawa, not Ottumwa. Okay, I misunderstood. Maybe I got a little too excited for nothing then. But I'll probably never use this because in order to get to either of those cities, I'd have to have at least one layover, then that layover. So I'd go from Des Moines to Chicago, Chicago to Ottawa, Ottawa to London. That's a bit ornery. I'd rather just go to New York and then to London instead of having a double layover. But if you have Canadian connections or maybe you live up close to the border and you can drive to one of those cities, like if you live in the far eastern part of Maine, maybe that'll be a good option for you. If anybody knows of a use case to fly through Canadian airports on Air Canada, let me know. I would love it, love it, love it, love it if Des Moines could get a direct flight from Des Moines to either Toronto or Montreal, which sounds like, way too small of an airport, but Dayton, Ohio has one, and they're not much bigger. All right. Girasano says this: for any U.S. Bank credit card, set the cash advance to 25% of your credit limit and fund U.S. Bank business savings or checking account counts as a purchase. So is it you just have to make sure your credit limit is, make sure whatever amount you purchase is more than 25% of your credit limit because then it won't be able to do the thing? Maybe we shouldn't have said that part out loud. New Again says it's not any U.S. Bank credit card. It depends on the bank you're funding. Critical Chris says, I just got a U.S. Bank issued Visa with a State Farm logo. It promises 4% cash back on insurance premiums. I'm going to try to find out if this only applies to State Farm premiums. I can actually answer that one for you because I used to have the business version of that card. Unfortunately, there's no sign-up bonus, so it's not that lucrative. And we're going to see in the main event coming up exactly how lucrative sign-up bonuses can be. But irregardless, not a word. I did use it to pay Aflac premiums. My parents had an Aflac policy multiple times, and yes, we got the 4% cash back on Aflac too. I believe it caps out at $4,000 of purchases per year. So at most, you're getting $4, $8, $12, $16 a year. Whoopee. Oops, I said that wrong. Not $1,660 a year. Sorry. That's a lot better, but still, I mean, one halfway decent sub blows that out of the water. Mike Newland says, good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday morning, Mike. I'm happy to see you on board. Vincent says, if you purchase Air Canada miles, that will count as foreign transactions to earn 3x Atmos points when using the Atmos Summit. That's good to know. Apparently, they sell their miles directly, not through points.com or something like that. Thank you, Vincent. That'll be helpful for some people. Texas Dog says, hey, Mike. And Yuri says, I think it's only 3% cash back on insurance. Check me. You're right. So it'd be $50 for every 1,000, so you could earn up to $200. My math was bad for a couple different reasons. So thanks for helping pick me up there. Must be too tired. We got a personal data point here. I'm sure you've all been waiting for this. No doubt. The Rip Trip Rap is now available on Bandcamp. Released that a couple weeks ago. There's a link in the description box, but it's also really easy to remember. Dugroz.bandcamp.com. So type that in, dugroz.bandcamp.com, or use the link in the description box. You can buy that song, and this is not a joke. You can actually buy it. You can download it to like your phone and then upload it to Apple Music or whatever listening device you have. It'll honor the picture and everything. That's me in a credit card factory, if you're wondering what's in the background there. Yeah, by the way, nobody has actually purchased any of my singles yet. So if you buy one of my songs off of Bandcamp, I will give you, and if you do it today during the live stream while it's happening, I will give you 5,000 Dugroz points. You're welcome. It's only $1.62 for a single. We'll have to go in the honor system because I don't have any way of checking while it's going on. Just tell me if you bought a song, I'll give you your free Dugroz points. Let's keep going here. With that in mind, Doctor of Credit says there is an Amex offer for 15% back at Aldi, up to $6 in statement credits. I only mention this because Aldi is super valuable in my family. We use Aldi fairly often. So anytime there's a cash back offer, we'll take it, especially if it's on the Blue Cash Every Day or Blue Cash Preferred, something like that. We've already got a bump up. Now, what times 15% gets you $6? I don't know, but it's less than $50 because, it'd be like 7.5 if it was exactly half of 100. So $50 will get you there. Technically, the number is something less than that. If anyone wants to do the math for me, by all means, please let me know. If you are also interested in Amex stuff, American Express has added this $300 Chat GPT credit on both the Business Platinum and the Business Gold cards. Interesting because my wife just picked up the Business Gold fairly recently. As I understand it, reading through this article, it's only on the business version of Chat GPT, which you can use it all at once or something like that. But I think it's like $50 a month, roughly. So you could go like 6 months and then cancel, and then you'd be done for the year, or something like that. Or if you wanted to just do the annual version, you would end up paying more, but it would give you the $300 credit either way. Now, there was a different data point over here on Doctor of Credit saying that ChatGPT had a special where you get 2 business seats, that basically means accounts, for the price of one with the promo code INFOSEEKAIUS, which would effectively make it free. So then instead of getting 6 months worth, you would get 12 months worth. But on Frequent Miler, it said that expired quickly. Like so many people jumped on it that it's no longer available. So feel free to poke around. If anybody jumped on that before it went away or has a great use case for the business Chat GPT account, let me know. I use mostly Claude, which is a different AI, and I pay like $19.95 a month or something like that. So might be worth it. I got behind on comments a lot here. Okay. We already talked about that. Got some people excited. Girsano's just happy to see Mike. Texas Dog remembers the Rip Trip Rap and loves it. Critical Chris says, on the personal version of this U.S. Bank State Farm Visa, there's a paltry $150 sign-up bonus for $500 and spend in the first 90 days. That's good. It's better than my business version. Ian would download the song if it was free. You can go to Bandcamp and listen for free, but if you want to download, you got to pay for it. Hey, I am a big-time music producer. I got to make my money, Ian. Dollar bills, y'all. Yuri says, I had 3 of those 15% Amex offers, and I used them yesterday. Great. Critical Chris confirms, Yuri, it's 3%, not 4%. That was my bad. Yuri says there's a bunch of 7% Aldi offers on Chase. I saw that too. Thanks for the reminder. The one I saw was a maximum of $3, so not as exciting. MR says Aldi just dropped a bunch of sweet merch for the 50th anniversary, shoes and tracksuits, etc. Check it out if you're a big nerd. I need to get one of those for my sister. She loves Aldi. When I was growing up, we had an Aldi in my hometown, which was rare. We didn't have a lot of name brand chains. And my mom always, and all of her friends, like everyone in that boomer generation, called it Aldi's, like there's an apostrophe S at the end, like Casey's. But there's not. New Again agrees with Texas Dog's comments. Oh, that's because I skipped ahead. He says, if ChatGPT could pressure wash my sidewalk or spray for weeds, it would be worth it. New Again agrees. I've seen comments before about AI, like, I was promised by the Jetsons that AI would like do my laundry and clean my house for me so I would get to spend more time on creative thing like writing music and poetry. Instead, I've got AI writing music and poetry, and here I am still doing my own laundry. No Way Hefe is holding out for a Dugroz transfer bonus. Okay, maybe someday. I got to do some negotiating with the Tractor Supply Company and Bennigan's. Back to a personal data point here. I know that if you're a member of this channel or just a loyal viewer of this channel, you love presidents' graves just as much as I do. And maybe you wonder where all these are all of these president graves that Dugroz has visited. Well, you are in luck. There is now a map of every single president's grave that I have visited in sequence, along with which presidency they held in sequence. And there's a link to that in the description box. It's not public info. It's not something you can search for. You have to use my link to look at it. You're welcome. Let me know if you look it over and what you think. You can also click on each individual pin, and it'll show a picture of me at the grave just to prove that I really was there. Doctor of Credit lets us know that U.S. Bank has a cash back deal. Get 15% back at home improvement stores, maximum of $15. So that would be spend $100. They do go on to say here that this is something that's targeted and it comes by email. I checked my email this morning. Unfortunately, I was not targeted for this. But if you are, you know what they sell at home improvement stores, or at least many of them? Gift cards. So you can go and buy gift cards at Home Depot. I know Lowe's has them. So yeah, pick up some gift cards. The terms and conditions probably say something like excludes gift cards, but in my experience, it always works anyway. So try it at your own risk, but I think the risk is very, very low. More personal information. So, you know, I've talked about getting a new heating and cooling system, HVAC for my home. Well, guess what? It's been done. So there's a picture I took on the day they were installing it. And the tie-in with points and miles is this is helping me get a big chunk of spend out of the way. So my wife opened the business gold card specifically for this. Right there, $11,491 spent at Shaw Heating and Cooling here in Des Moines, Iowa. Their jingle goes like this. Dun, 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 Shaw Heating and Cooling. Call Shaw you all. Ba-da-ba. If you're from Iowa, I guarantee you've heard that before. And then, yeah, big chunk towards the spending bonus of 15,000 points to get 200,000 MRs out of the way. I've only got a little over $2,000 to go. That'll be easy, and I have till sometime in June to hit that benchmark. DEM raises his hand, lets us know that he has arrived. Good morning. And Critical Chris says, the no annual fee Avon Visa issued by Coastal with a 6% back on groceries is the only card I've heard of that. The only card you've heard of what? Moving on here, Upgraded Points has a very helpful article, and it's called something like the 10 IHG properties that qualify for the Edit by Chase travel credit up to $500 per stay. And a better way of saying that is for 2026 only, there's also a $250 IHG credit. So this is basically the 10 properties where you can do both the edit credit and the IHG credit. Now, the way it works is you can only do a $250 edit credit per stay. When they first launched, it was first half of the year, second half of the year, but now it's any time. So in theory, you could do 2 back-to-back. The IHG credit is 1. So if you max it out, you can get $750 in value. Let me give you an example here. One of them on the list, and the one that appealed to me the most based on price and a variety of other factors, is the Kimpton San Antonio River Walk in San Antonio, Texas. $218 per night. You got fees and everything. I don't know what night this was. It's probably more expensive in the summer, but the author said it was $507 total. So if you did a 2-night stay, and this appears to be 2 nights, you would pay $7 for the entire stay. And then if you wanted to add on another 2-night stay, let's assume it's roughly the same price, then you could use your second credit from the edit, even if it's back-to-back. So basically, you would end up paying roughly $264 for 4 nights here. That's not bad. Maybe my wife and I should look into a quick weekend getaway down in San Antonio. I think there might be a direct flight from Des Moines to San Antonio with someone. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. That might be wrong. And then it does look like it qualifies for points boost. I think that's a 1.5er. Does that sound right? 3746 times 1.5, 46. It's a little bit better than that. It might be 1.55 or 1.65, something like that. So you could also use your chase points to pretty good value. So go to upgraded points, check that out. Let me know, have any of you yet this far in 2026 either already used or at least booked one of those double dip edit IHG properties? I have the Sapphire Reserve right now, and I'm going to be probably canceling it in the middle of August, so I need to get it in before then. All of a sudden, I got a ton of comments. It's weird how they come in waves. Texas Dog says, now we know why you got the HELOC. Yep, and there's going to be some roof repairs coming too. Okay, Critical Chris is being more specific. The Avon Visa is issued by Coastal Community Bank, which offers 6% cash back on groceries. It's the only card or bank that has ever asked me to submit tax returns or bank statements. Interesting. Don't like that, but I hear what you're saying. I hope this is not a trend. Ian says, if you had not already paid, I would have suggested you ask your contractor if you could pay for other things at the supply store. They normally have a house account. Ask to pay it off instead of paying labor in cash. I didn't pay for anything related to the air conditioner in cash. I asked them in advance, do you take American Express? Can I pay for the whole thing with a credit card? And they said yes. And I said, do you charge any fees? And they said no. So I paid, that was everything. That was installation, labor, air handler, heater, AC, and water heater all put together, and labor, and 2 surge protectors, and 3 years of their membership club. Well, they'll make house calls for free. So there was some negotiating involved there. But if I missed something, by all means, let me know. Sam K from the UK has arrived. How you doing? It's been a couple weeks. Hello, everyone. YouTube hasn't been notifying me of many live stream platforms wide. That's a bummer. And says, thank you to the legend who gifted me a membership. Awesome. Might have been Mike Newland. Don't know that for sure. No way says Harry Truman and his wife are buried at his presidential museum. So that must be in the area around Kansas City, Missouri. Mike points out the San Antonio River Walk Kimpton is less than a year old. That sounds great. Gironasso says that's the one we're thinking about booking for our anniversary. Same. And I think it's 1.65x. Texas says to Sam K, I have the same issue with YouTube. I had to go directly to the Dugroz channel to find this stream, even though I'm subscribed and have all notifications turned on. By the way, if you don't turn on notifications, would you for me? I think you can even pick and choose and just do it for live streams. Also, if you can click the hype button, if you're watching on a mobile device, that does something. I don't know what, but it sounds good to me. Matt will be booking his edit stuff shortly. I thought of you, Matt, because I know you've talked about that before. You must have the CSR this year. And then I need to let you know that Doctor of Credit says something that Yuri is hinting at here. Transfer partner banner removed. U.S. Bank to make negative change to the U.S. Bank altitude reserve. Okay, so it's a clunky headline because the way Doctor of Credit does it, instead of adding a brand new article, they'll often just update the headlines. That part in brackets is the important part. Basically, what they're saying is if you log into your U.S. Bank rewards account, up at the top there was a banner for the last several months since December that said transfer partners coming soon. That U.S. Bank has now removed that banner that says transfer partners coming soon. So if you're part of the conspiracy that says there's not even going to be transfer partners, bro, that certainly feeds into that, and you make a decent point. Somebody put a rumor on Reddit or something that said, like, U.S. Bank is having a hard time negotiating decent transfer partners, and they're too embarrassed to release it until they have a few good ones, so they're just holding out. But that's some random person on YouTube who might be lying through their teeth, so don't take that for anything. Yuri used a Kimpton in Sacramento and it had both IHG and Edit 2 cents per point redemptions. So I wonder if the article that they put out on upgraded points is all of the IHG properties that qualify or just her 10 favorite. It might just be her 10 favorite. There might be more than that. Does anybody know? Are there more than 10 that qualify for both? It seems like there would be more than 10. It'd be nice if there was one in Boston that wasn't too expensive because my wife wants to go to Boston someday. I'll give a hat tip to Upgraded Points here. Upgraded Points has the best screen grabs for things involving airlines, so I'm going to use them more from now on. Certainly more catching than Doctor of Credit. Allegiant completes acquisition of Sun Country to create a single leisure-focused airline. So Allegiant wanted to merge with, buy out Sun Country, but they had to get through the hurdle of the Department of Labor or Antitrust Board or whatever the government agency is called that handles that, had to give permission. They officially gave their permission now. So it is now official. And then thinking through this a little more, Upgraded Points wants to know, is this a good thing? And it says, if you live in a small to mid-sized market, this is going to be really good for you because Allegiant says the Minneapolis-St. Paul hub will continue to play a key role in the combined country. Allegiant customers will have access to Sun Country's international routes. They go to Mexico, Central America, Canada, and the Caribbean. So it's still kind of North America. This actually really interests me, being somebody that lives in Des Moines, Iowa, because we don't have any direct international flights. We don't have a truckload of direct flights to places I want to go. Given Des Moines to Minneapolis is only about a 45-minute flight on paper, and usually what that means is about 15 minutes of taxiing, 15 minutes in the air, 15 minutes descending. I would think that would be a flight they would add. They don't currently have it, but man, if they did add an Allegiant / Sun Country, Allegiant Country or Sungent would be their new name. Let's go with Sungent. If Sungent did add that flight, that would just open up a world of flights to me, and I would really like that. However, right now there's this whole thing with flights being really expensive. I've heard there's this whole war in Iran thing, not to get political. Normally when I think of Allegiant, I think of like, $30 flights, maybe $70 flights, and you can add a bag for $30. So you're talking like at most 100 one way, at most 200 round trip. Nope. So I went and looked. If I want to travel from Des Moines to Sanford, which is the small Orlando airport, this summer, the week leading up to 4th of July, which is like the only week that I can for sure fly with my kids, $373 round trip per person, almost $400. So for a family of 4, we're talking almost $1,200, almost $1,600, at least $1,400. And I'm like, say what? Like so much for a budget discount airline. Holy cow. But admittedly, every flight's expensive. That same round trip on like American or United is going to be $450, $500, something like that. So, ouch. No Way says, look out for some crazy parking fees for hotels on the San Antonio Riverwalk. I think Kimpton Santos is $60 a night. There are much cheaper city parking options. Or we could just not bring a car. Matt says there's plenty more than 10 of those dual IHG edit properties. Okay, it must be a thing where she was just doing her 10 favorite. Sam K says, hey, Dugroz reports all notifications are active. The issue is that YouTube keeps modifying the platform to show an abundance of advertising with user interface changes that mess up the notifications. Sorry to hear that. Yuri SBU says, hey, Rich Card Dad, just jumping in for a few minutes. Traveling a lot the next few weeks. North Italy tomorrow until Memorial Day. American Airlines on points, hotel cash. Then Texas in 2 weeks. Italy tomorrow, Texas next week. That could be a song. Hey, stay tuned. That's awesome. You are the rich dad card life there. Way to go, Yuri SBU. Yuri G says, I flew on Allegiant recently and used my huge Chrome Barrage Pro backpack up to 83 liters in volume and no additional charge. It was my personal item. I've heard people say that's a bit of a gamble because they do have size limits of like 50 liters. It's just that a lot of agents don't enforce it. I also always bring a CPAP, which draws a little more attention. And because it's a medical device, it's free. In other words, it won't count towards your limit. So like if you get one carry-on, one personal item, I have a backpack, CPAP, and my carry-on. But every now and then, like last time I flew, one of the agents just asked me, is that a CPAP? And I said, yes. Obviously, I could lie. You know, somebody could have a CPAP-shaped bag and put all their personal belongings in it. But I always garner a little extra attention because sometimes I have headphones. I always have the CPAP, those kind of things. So I don't want to risk it, but you do you. I actually give you truckloads of props for that. Roll the dice. Sam says we can do so much better than the likes button pushing, and it's most appreciated. He's right. Not only is it appreciated, it's free. Chad from Chad's Money Minutes is here and says, yo, how you doing, Chad? I'm so glad to see you on board this morning. 71 people on board. Better, but we can improve. Anybody got the like to people on board ratio? All right, I've talked about it before. I'm going to talk about it again because it's such a good value. Taco John's Upside paid $12.62, not including tax, and earned 3.03 cash back. That was 24%. 24%. That's pretty good. There have been Burger King, Five Guys, Taco John's, Taco Bell, and even that, no, not the ice cream store, but there's another one just down the street from it called something cafe that I can get Upside. Upside's good for gas, but usually it's like 1 cent per gallon. It's way better for fast food. So if you're eating unhealthy fast food like I do occasionally, check out Upside. I'm not a sponsor or anything. I do have just a plain old refer a friend code. There it is right there. Dugroz 8785. If you've never signed up before, go to upside.com or download the Upside app, type in that code. Or if you're really feeling lazy and you just want to scan a QR code, there it is right there. And that'll get me something. I don't know if I get an extra 3 cents per whatever. It says right there, 10-cent cash back every time your friend uses Upsides. I'll get 10-cent cash back every time you use it. Thank you. Leaving that on the screen for 5, 4, 3, and moving on. Critical Chris gives me a video idea, manufactured spending 2026. I will keep that in mind, but if I do that, that'll be a members only video. So yeah, become a channel member. Cancel in 2 or 3 months. I don't mind if you do. Binge all my videos, like I said earlier. Next hat tip here is, I keep hitting the wrong button. Again, upgraded points. This is an award alert. Award alert. Business class availability to Ireland from 45,000 points. This is on Aer Lingus, but you're going to book it using Alaska points. Alaska Atmos. We just found a heap of economy and business class to Dublin or Shannon from May through February. These flights cost as few as 45,000 one way in business with several seats available, but we predict they will disappear soon. I'm not going to be able to use this, probably, but maybe you can, so I hope it helps you out. The last data point of a personal nature. Bling. I have now officially crossed 3,000 subscribers. Let's see if I have any good sound effects. Thank you. Appreciate it. Cesar pointed that out last week, but it was like I crossed just to 3,001, then I lost someone, so I was at 2,999 for a while. And I was like, come on, but hopefully with 3 people, I have enough of a cushion that it'll stick. So thank you to all of you who have subscribed. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't yet, now's a great day to subscribe to my channel. I do make actual standalone videos, but my live stream's kind of my thing I'm most known for. But I would love to have you on board. That'll make me appear more big time in the algorithm and drive even more people in to watch. Okay, so I usually take a little break, and sometimes we call it the bathroom break. Sometimes we call it the biology break. Sometimes we just plain call it intermission. And when we do have an intermission, I've been making some music for you guys. So I did that recently. I have inspiration that hits me now and then. Do you know who's on the screen here? Do you recognize this lovely lady? Well, I was listening to YouTube in the background. I just have YouTube playing music all day, every day at work. And this song came up from a movie released in 1980 called Xanadu. I've never actually seen the movie. It's something like a roller disco type thing. And who pops up on the screen but Olivia Newton-John? And inspiration just hit me. And I was like, hey, I have not yet had a female singer do any of my songs. So I need to get Olivia Newton-John to do that. Well, she wasn't available because she's no longer with us. Rest in peace, Olivia. You will be missed. But man, I need to get something kind of like that pushed out. So remember when you first got into Points and Miles? Remember how excited you were, how the world seemed kind of like your oyster that first time you got a sign-up bonus? Remember when you first learned about arbitrage and using British to book American or something like that? Just how exciting everything was? Well, that's what we're going to hear today. So without any further ado, I present to you the song called Miles Away. I'll step away. I'll be back in 3 minutes. Enjoy. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk about your favorite Hyatt property before it devalues. Here we go.
I never knew a thing about the points and miles game. Paid full price for every flight. It was such a shame. Then an ad popped up one day for a card with the bonus bright. Something clicked inside my head and I saw the light. I started reading blogs at midnight. Couldn't stop learning every transfer partner, every sweet spot. Now I'm checking my dashboard every single day, watching all those points just stack and stack away. $90,000 miles already in the bank. Capital One venture, oh, you have my thanks. Just a few more dollars and the strat is done. Baby, I've only just begun. Cash back sitting pretty in my checking account. Bank account bonuses, every dollar counts. First class or business, maybe Waldorf Astoria. Living my best life in pure rewards, euphoria. Miles away, now we fly. Miles away, touch the sky. A dream, a bonus, a transfer away. Miles away, you and I. Florida this summer, Hawaii someday. Miles away, ooh, miles away. Chase or Amex, which ecosystem calls? Ultimate rewards or MR points for all? Do I chase the sapphire or go gold card next? So many good options, I'm a happy mess. Either way, the lounge is where I'll be, sipping something fancy, completely free. The strategy is forming and the future's bright. Every swipe I make is moving me toward the light. Miles away, now we fly. Miles away, touch the sky. A dream, let me tell you, I did it twice. Miles away, now we fly. Miles away, touch the sky. A dream, a bonus, a transfer away. Miles away, you and I, Florida this summer, Hawaii someday. Miles away, miles away, miles away. Conrad is waiting. The points never stop. Miles away. Miles away.
All right, you've been listening to Miles Away by Dugroz Music. Thank you for those of you who hung in there. 68 of us still on board. Got to catch up on comments here. There's going to be several. Let's see here. Sam says you can use Lucky Charms to flip Irish Airlines with today's fuel prices. Okay. Texas says Dugroz is part of my Saturday morning routine. Sam just letting us know about that Lucky Charms thing. I knew what you meant. Fly Irish Airlines. Jake Loves Jesus said, I am not messing with you, but I was checking out your profile picture. It looks like you're making a face like this. Was it a rough day? You mean my YouTube avatar profile picture? We're actually going to talk about that in the main event, Jake. How interesting. Hold that thought. No Way Hefe says, I need to look into Upside. I use that one. Have you used Fetch? There's a Fetch Amex credit card from Imprint. I do. I use Fetch all the time, mostly because I just want to store pictures of my receipts in case I need them. And I got sick of doing it on my own system, so I'm going to do it on Fetch's system. And I do get a little rewards. It takes a long time to build up. I've heard their credit card is pretty terrible, though, just from what people have told me. Sam is not happy with autocorrect. Yuri G says, another great song. Critical Chris says, Xanadu, fantastic flick. I got to watch it someday. It looks fantastic. I mean, just Olivia Newton-John alone means you should watch it. Yuri likes it, thinks it's great. No Way says, let's get physical with Dugroz. R.I.P. Olivia Newton-John. Indeed, absolutely, 100%. R.I.P. Her peak of influence and power was probably from like early to mid 70s through the 80s. And I was just a little too young, but man, if I'd been about 7 years older, I would have had a crush on her. Shoot, I still do. Texas says that song was Greased Lightning. Calder says that was a banger. Rhyming Euphoria with Waldorf Astoria is awesome. I liked it too. Yuri thinks I need to publish this song also. I will. So that'll be coming to dugroz.bandcamp.com soon. The same with The Edge of Rewards, which was the boy band doo-wop song, mid-90s style that I put out last week. Source King says, my favorite is the Hyatt House Houston Medical Center because the cash price was $800 per night, but I could book it with 8,000 points. Holy cow, that's 10 cents per point. Caldra seconds. Yuri. Jessica Wen says, Dugroz, this song is pure music, points and miles, and Miles Genius all in one. Excuse me, pure music and points and miles genius all in one. That's what I was going for. Thank you so much. Glad you liked it, Jessica. Don't think we've met before. Super happy to have you on board. And thank you so much for being a diehard. And if I forgot, I apologize. Texas says it even has that 80s sound to it, and Conrad is waiting. Ian says, to Source King, those scumbags going after hurting people who want to stay there near a loved one. Absolutely. Screw you, Hyatt. Tia Rico said, I had to explain to my wife what I was listening to. Do you have an explanation for her? My wife listened to a rough draft version of this and said, it sounds like Taylor Swift. So I tried my best to tone back the Taylor Swift and increase the Olivia. No Way says, I hope it's a number 2 and the track is set to repeat. You can handle the tracks however you want when they come out. Yuri wants to know which card she's holding in her hand. It's a card that didn't violate any copyrights. So let's say it's whatever the gray American Airlines card is. That's the one that looked like to me. Yuri says, to Source King, $800 a night cash price for any Hyatt house will affect my vitals, so a medical center nearby will be needed. LOL. Sam says, to Dugroz, I'm simply not impressed with autocorrect. It changes what I said and makes it sound like we're talking gibberish. I completely agree with you, Sam. 67 people on board. Thank you so much to those of you who stay tuned. So we're ready for the theme of the day now. Turn that page, and I might turn this into a standalone, so bear with me here. I'm going to do my little countdown, then I'm going to launch into it. That way it'll make it easier to edit later. Oh, by the way, Yuri said that it looks like she's holding the AA Platinum Select. That's what we're going to say. She's going to use that to fly to Florida this summer, like she said. All right. Blow my nose. And here we go. 5, 4, 3. Today's theme of the day, rich card dad and poor card dad. Which one are you? Now, I know there's a book out there called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'll be honest, I've never read it. This is kind of a clickbaity title. And the purpose is to think about two different average Joes, just dads, but they live in two different places. You see the picture of Iowa, see the picture of California. Even if their lifestyles are exactly the same, how does being card rich versus card poor impact you? Or maybe I should just say, how does your cash flow impact whether you're card rich or card poor? And we're going to discuss that today. So I'm hoping this does spur some good discussion. There's not a specific conclusion to this. It's not necessarily me giving you super ultra uber niche strategies. This is a thought exercise, but I think you'll like it. Do you remember Leon? We met Leon a few weeks ago when we were doing built strategies. Hailing from Des Moines, Iowa, Leon, age 44, married with 2 kids. His mortgage is $1,500 per month. He spends about $4,700 per month on all things that can go on a credit card. All the credit card stuff put together. He has a boring office job. Leon's spend looks like this. So we got some dining, $5,000 a year, Amazon, gas, Walmart. Oh, lots of spend on Walmart, just like me, about $10,000 a year. Little bit at real grocery stores. Of course, Leon's family buys groceries, but mostly at Walmart. That's why the grocery spend is kind of low. We got some telecom. We got $25,000 of everything else, utilities. Put it all together. Leon has credit card spend of $5,700 per year. Now, just to clarify, this is not saying Leon's household income is $57,000 a year. It's saying Leon's household has a certain income, and of course, your 401k, your insurance, your pre-tax deductions all come off of that. And then you've got your net income. And then you got to pay some things that you can't pay with credit cards, like your mortgage is not included in this, mortgage or rent. And then like life insurance, sometimes you can't pay with a credit card. I've got a couple policies like that where I can't pay with a credit card. I have to make like a tax payment. You can pay with credit cards. It depends on a variety of factors that may or may not be included. But the things that you can pay with a credit card, as long as you're diligent and always take the credit card option, $57,000 per year. So we already talked about Leon. Now let's meet his counterpart, his doppelganger, if you will. Hailing from downtown Los Angeles, California, meet Richard, age 44, married with 2 kids. Oh, that sounds familiar. His rent or mortgage is about $4,500 per month. Oh, that's way more than Leon. Leon's was $1,500 per month. And he spends about $7,000 per month on all the things that can go on a credit card. He also has a boring office job, but wears a tie. Richard's spend looks like this. Now, I decided for whatever reason to put Richard in yellow. You know, when you're doing like Google flights, green is a good deal, inexpensive. Yellow's kind of in the middle. There could be a rich person, like super rich, who's in red. But we're just comparing Richard, who's a little richer. Leon spent $5,000 on dining. Richard spends $12,000. I mean, he's in downtown Los Angeles. It's harder to get out to the grocery store. Amazon, gonna take transit instead of gas because he's mostly using public transit, Uber, that kind of stuff. We're not going to do Walmart. I'll explain why in a little bit. We're adding that onto grocery and everything else. So we've got $7,000 of grocery, telecom $2,000, everything else. Oh, whopping $42,000. Utility $6,000. Extra taxes, $5,000. I'll explain that in just a moment. So $85,000 a year of what Richard can run through credit cards, simply because Richard lives in a place with a much higher cost of living. It costs more to live in Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles, than it does in Des Moines, Iowa. I did some research. The overall cost of living in Los Angeles, California is roughly 83% higher than Des Moines, Iowa. For a dad supporting a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 children, maintaining that exact same standard of living, requiring $5,700 per month after taxes in Des Moines, would demand roughly $8,948 per month in Los Angeles. The source there is apartments.com via Google Gemini. The biggest difference is housing. So yes, grocery is more expensive. Utilities is a little more expensive. Telecom's a little more expensive. Actually, about the same. Telecom, I think, is exactly the same. Amazon grocery might be a little more expensive, but the big one is housing. We'll come back to that in a few moments. Why not Walmart? Well, according to Google, there are no Walmart locations in downtown Los Angeles. The closest full-size Walmart supercenter and markets are located just outside the urban core. There's one in Burbank, 12 miles away, one in Southgate, 11 miles away. I don't want to drive 12 miles to get to Walmart if I am Richard or Richard's wife. So I am mostly shopping at local grocery stores, kind of like your markets and that kind of stuff. Probably doing a little more food delivery than Leon does. That probably slides into that whole dining category. Maybe there's some, I don't know. Do any of you live in downtown Los Angeles? How do you get your food? But that's what I came up with. For a family of 4, relocating from Des Moines to downtown Los Angeles will cost an estimated between $3,000 and $7,000 more per year in state and local taxes. So I averaged that out to an extra $5,000 in extra taxes, using the averages there. So Leon on the left, Richard on the right. Dining, Richard pays $7,000 more. Amazon, Richard pays $2,000 more. Transit or gas, he pays $1,000 more. Walmart, this is the category where Leon shines. Leon over here in the suburbs of Des Moines pays $10,000, whereas Richard doesn't pay anything. But grocery stores, like real grocery stores, like Ralph's, Kroger's, Safeway, etc., Richard pays $4,000 more. Telecom, break even. Everything else, Richard pays a whopping $17,000 more. Utilities, $2,000 more, and then those extra taxes, $5,000 more. So when you net all that out, the total difference is Richard is running $28,000 per year through credit cards that Leon is not, and Leon can't without being stupid about his spending. Because remember, the goal of Points and Miles is to buy things that you would normally buy. Don't overspend. I'll pause and catch up on comments here. Thank you to the 69 people who have stayed on board. Texas Dog says, I agree with your wife. Swiftie lovers will be contacting you. No, I'm sorry. Swiftie's lawyers will be contacting me with a cease and desist letter. I tried to do my best. Source King says, it's the Hyatt closest to NRG Stadium. I'm going there for the Sweden's World Cup game. Very cool. Very cool. Texas Dog says, this reminds me of the miniseries Rich Man, Poor Man. I'm dating myself. I am old. Do you remember when Olivia Newton-John was super popular? Yeah, I don't know what the miniseries Rich Man, Poor Man is. I'll have to look that one up. Actually, I'll take a screenshot because now I'm morbidly curious. All right. Texas Dog says, I hope you have a great time in my city. If you want restaurant recommendations, hit me up. Stacy's here from Stacy's Points of Travel. Hey, Stacy, how you doing? Ooh, I get to watch a live while eating my lunch. Hello. Good to see you. A-Tier says, the Chicago Architectural Tour is cool. So is the Walking Food Tour. I have to do that sometime. Don Kim says, I'll show you around downtown LA, Dugroz. No, it's not me. It's Leon. Leon, not me. But if things happen to line up, I'll look you up here. Source King says, for sure, the guy I work with from Houston recommended Twin Peaks. I've read that Viet Cajun food is a big hit in Houston. I'd love to try it. Don confirms there is no Walmart, but Air One is opening soon. LOL. I don't know what Air One is. Want to fill me in? Hey, I'm glad I have a downtown Los Angeles expert on board. Do you think my Google AI search was mostly accurate with cost of living differences? What do you think? Texas says there's better place than Twin Peaks. Hit me up on Discord. We have such a friendly community. Hey, we're back up over 70. Great. And Sam wants to know if I can sing a really corny song when the likes are low midstream. I use StreamYard, which is a third-party program, and it doesn't show me how many likes there are, unfortunately. DEM says, let's get Miguel Newland to 1,000 subscribers. Is that an alternate way of saying Mike Newland, or is there actually someone named Miguel? All right, I'm going to continue on here. 5, 4, 3. If we assume an average of 3x per dollar spent, that's $28,000 more that Richard gets and Leon doesn't, times 3, an extra 84,000 points per year that Richard gets over Leon on everyday spend. You can see Leon starting to get a little miffed. He's like, I'd like to earn an extra 84,000 points. So take the 57,000 times 3. Good old Leon, Des Moines, Iowa is earning 171,000 points per year. Take the 85,000 times 3. Richard is earning 255,000 points per year. If we assume an average redemption of 2 cents per point, that's a difference of, we got $3,420 in value that Leon's pulling in. We have $5,100 in value that Richard is pulling in. That's $1,680 in more value that Richard gets over Leon. And again, this is assuming they've already got their credit cards set up the way they want. They're gardening. They're not doing any new cards. We're just talking everyday spend here. Nothing to do with sign-up bonuses. But stay tuned because we will talk about sign-up bonuses in just a little bit. So you might be thinking to yourself something like $1,680 doesn't sound like a lot. But consider this. If they both want to go to England, they're competing for the same hotels. Or maybe a different way of what I'm saying is, once you get to your destination, money spends the same. That guy from Iowa goes to London. That guy from Los Angeles goes to London. They're paying the same £7 for a hot dog. Leon doesn't get his cost of living adjustment when he goes overseas. Maybe you're going to go see some cool historic buildings like this other random guy did. 84,000 points could be 2 to 3 more nights in a hotel. It could be a couple extra activities, like I took a tour of a large stately manor in Vienna. I took a boat ride in Sweden, some other stuff like that. It could be 1 to 2 more business class flights to or from Europe, not round trip, but one way. I mean, we've all seen those TAP Air Portugal flights that are less than 40,000 points. Sometimes maybe 84,000 would be what it takes to get a business class seat. If you're still getting decent value, obviously don't use like Delta Sky Pesos or something like that. So it really does matter. It really does add up. I'll pause for comments here real quick. DEM says Mike is going to do a live stream when he gets to 1,000 subs. Oh, okay. Well, that is spicy. I will keep that in mind. I am going to actually screenshot that myself so I can promote it properly. Mike deserves proper promotion. He's been a longtime supporter of the channel. Oh, I hit a button and something funny happened. I apologize. There we go. Okay, I'm back on board now. Background Balloon is here feeding the algorithm. Thank you. And we're still over 70 people. Let's see. Sam from the UK, are you still on board? Do you want to tell me this many people have clicked the like button and we have this many people on board? That would help. A-tier says $40 for Aldi. I predict the A-tier is watching a little behind schedule. Vincent just subscribed to Mike Newland. Rupert Pond says it definitely does add up, but Leon still has $20,000 more in his pocket. Cash is definitely king. We're going to get to that in just a little bit here, but to give you a little bit of a preview, let's assume their lifestyle is pretty much the same. They're basically spending at the same rate, same kind of stuff. It's just low cost of living, high cost of living. So they're both living within their means. It's not like Leon has $20,000 more in his pocket. his job probably pays 50% less, even for the same work. I know at my company, they will do like cost of living adjustments to your salary based on where you live, but they also avoid hiring people from certain locations because of that. So like my job, I can do direct. I mean, I live in Des Moines. My office is in Des Moines because back when I started, you had to be there in person. But for the newer hires, we'll hire people from far away. So like there's a guy from Minnesota, or there's a whole bunch of people in like Virginia and North Carolina, but we're not talking like Washington, D.C., Virginia. We're talking more like Southern Virginia, a little bit rural. I think there's one person from like rural Colorado, something like that. So they like hiring work from home employees that are in low cost of living places because they don't have to pay them as much. And if you live in downtown Los Angeles, they're just not going to hire you because you're too expensive. Now, if you later move to Los Angeles, you will get a cost of living adjustment. What happens is you get up to the top of your pay bracket right away, and you won't get a raise for like 5 years. So there we go. DEM feeding the algorithm. Mike thanking Vincent for a subscription. Sam says there's 48 likes, 65 people on board. So we've got about 20 people who don't know how to push a button. Go ahead and work on that. Cesar's a little behind at the biology break. Awesome. Congratulations again for reaching 3,000 subscribers, mi hermano. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Mi hermano. Vincent wants to know what will come first, Mike Newland's first live or Filmo's first video. Ooh, maybe they could just do them at the same time, get it out of the way. Critical Chris wants to know if Internal Revenue Code still allows for state and local tax deductions against federal income tax. I think so, but don't quote me on that. If so, did you factor that? It would be a game changer for your Hawkeye State guy. I'm trying to figure out how it would be a big game changer. So fill me in on that. Yes, I know I can deduct my state taxes from my federal, but then you also have to report the refund you got from state the next year. So it always ends up coming out in the wash. If anybody's more of an account than I am, let me know. Jim Brepley's. Don't think we've met before. Jim, how you doing? Back in Olivia Newton-John's days, we had to rent Xanadu on VHS and live in the city where we worked. Back in my day, we watched music videos on VHS cassettes. All right, I'll get back into the live stream now, or the main event now. 5, 4, hold on, take a drink. 5, 4, 3. So what about subs? We've only talked about everyday spend so far. Well, if we are going to talk about subs, hint. It's only going to get worse for Leon. Got our powder puff girl crying here. So $57,000 of spend that you can reasonably run through a credit card a year for Leon, $85,000 for Richard. Let's say they both went full Filmo and did nothing but subs. We're talking sub optimization here. We're saying like you are responsible enough that you put money in a savings account, those kind of things, and you prepay taxes, you prepay utilities. If you have rent, you pay your rent in advance. You can make your car payments on a credit card, do that in advance. You are responsible enough to know like, okay, I only have like $4,000 of income per month, but I can knock out a $20,000 sub in 3 months because I've saved money and I'm going to prepay my insurance and that kind of stuff. So if you were that diligent, this is what it would look like for Leon. So let's say, hypothetically, say he's fairly new and he gets it. So he's got all these cards he can still get a sub on. And this is based on right now what the minimum spend is. I just verified this with Frequent Miler last night. Amex Business Gold, 15,000 spend. Now, you know, Amex is the up to, so it's not always that amount. But if you're maxing it out, 15K of spend. Strata Elite, 6K of spend. The Consumer Platinum, 12K of spend. Chase Inc. Business Preferred, 12K of spend. Inc. Business Cash, 6K of spend. Sapphire Reserve, 6K of spend. He's thinking very conscientiously about 524, making sure he gets in the 2 Inc. business cards before he goes too much further. Now, if you're talking about Richard, you've got the exact same 6 cards to start with, but since he has more bandwidth, he can go even further and add 5 more cards because he has more income that he can run through spend. We got the Bonvoy, I think that's the Brilliant, 6K of spend. The Aeroplan card, which of course he should have, so he can, boom, pay himself back, 4K of spend. The Capital One Venture, 4K of spend. Wells Fargo Autograph Journey, 4K of spend. Capital One Spark Business, that's the one that you spend $10,000, you get $1,000 of cash back. But I'm assuming you can turn that $1,000 of cash back into 100,000 points because you have a venture card. And look, he does. And by the way, that comes out perfectly. Leon exactly 57,000, Richard exactly 85,000. So he or they are perfectly maximizing this. So let's break that down a little further. So in the first year, Leon is bringing in 775,000 points. Hey, that's not bad at all. And that is valued, if we assume 2 cents per point for the average, 15,000. Now remember, he was like 3,000 something with everyday spend. This also shows you the massive discrepancy between focusing on everyday spend and focusing on subs. So Leon has taken a gigantic step forward, shifting from maximizing everyday spend to maximizing subs. $15,500 in value. That is excellent. Well done, Leon. However, his distant cousin, Richard, over there in Los Angeles, is going to pull in 1.235 million points in the first year. And if we assume 2 cents per point, that's 24,700. So almost $10,000 more. Richard gets $9,200 more. Well, we already showed how much more travel Richard can get over Leon with everyday spend. What's going to happen if we take it up a notch? Well, Leon's starting to get a little shaky in the legs there. Richard's starting to think about fancier properties like the Salamander Resort, where you can bring your own horse if you need to and check it in. So 4,680 points is the differential. So Richard's bringing in almost 500,000 points more than poor Iowan Leon. And that could be 8 to 10 more nights in a hotel. That could be a bunch of extra activities, things like Viator. I didn't even do the math. That could be anywhere from 5 to roughly 10 more business class flights to or from Europe. If you got a family of 4, that's going to matter. That's going to matter a lot. All right, before I get into the next thing, let's pause and catch up on the comments here. Jim says, I really need to change name to Jim B Comments. Oh, instead of Jim B Replies. Your name's not Jim Burlap, please. I gotcha. Luke says, I can't imagine making $85K in Los Angeles with a family. Then again, I can't imagine living in Iowa. Ha ha. I see what you did there. Yeah, I don't know. You might be. I'm just assuming, if somebody makes an average wage in Iowa and you apply the correct cost of living, that you should have the same or similar standard of living. Texas Dog thinks 85,000 in Iowa's, you'd have to make 200,000 in Los Angeles. So, yeah. Well, maybe Leon's family's living in a little tiny crammed apartment then. Yuri thinks Iowa's a bit better than Ohio. Don Kim said, I did a quick look at my spend and some numbers were not too far off. While there is no Walmart, Richard does make a weekly trip out to Costco, which lowered grocery restaurant a bit. Smiley face. Thanks for the input here. I will admit I was basing this on nothing but Gemini searches on Google. So if the exact breakdown's not right, don't worry about it too much. We're focusing more on the concept here. I'm trying to show that there's a reason why people like me and others who live in more rural areas might get really excited when we hit a Wells Fargo autograph sign-up bonus or something like that, because it's harder for us to churn out the points. All right, we're almost ready to resume here. And doing so in 5, 4, 3. So remember rent? That was briefly mentioned earlier. And I said, according to Google Gemini, The biggest difference in expense between Southern California and Iowa is going to be housing. You can get your housing a lot cheaper here in Iowa than you can in Los Angeles. Based on the housing difference previously outlined, a $1,500 mortgage payment in Des Moines would scale to approximately between $3,850 to $5,160 per month in downtown Los Angeles, with the average being $4,590 per month. Just for the sake of easy numbers, I'm going to go with $4,500. So Leon still got his $1,500 mortgage here in Des Moines, whereas Richard is paying $4,500 per month. So it's not that it gets you more house. It's supposedly, according to Gemini, although some people say that's still not enough, going to get you like 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, 20-year-old builder grade house, very, very basic kind of thing. Accurate? I don't know. Google seems to think it's accurate. Again, let's focus on the concept, not whether it's off by a couple $1,000s or not. So let's say we get Built involved. And look, they have the very similar houses. Main difference is Leon's has the garage on the left and Richard's has the garage on the right. But if they use Built and they put it all on their Built card, it doesn't matter if it's the Palladium, if it's the Obsidian or the basic Built card. We're just doing the 1 point per dollar type thing. We're not going to do the weird cash back where you spend too much and then you get 1.25. But just assume the normal, ordinary Built setup used to pay rent. And of course, they have expenses that they're putting other things on, and they're still averaging 3 cents per point. Leon's getting an extra 18,000 points per year, and Richard's getting an extra 54,000 points per year. So that puts Richard ahead 36,000 points per year. Now, could Richard still optimize by mixing in the Built card? I think he could, because, with rent, you're going to be still using 2x on lots of stuff, plus your rent, those kinds of things. 36,000 per year. It's not that big of a deal. I didn't do a breakdown of that, what it comes out to, because we're about to fry a much, much, much larger fish here. Remember, rent does other stuff. Excuse me. Let me back up. 5, 4, 3. Remember how Built does other stuff? In fact, Built's main business model isn't even a credit card. I know we focus on it, but it's a portal for paying rent, and they have agreements with all these landlords. Let's say Richard and his family don't live in that house. They live in an apartment building, kind of like the one in the background here. And he's going to pay his rent through Built every single time. He's going to max it out. If he's only renting, then he has an extra $54,000 per year to put towards subs from rent. So that budget I showed you at the beginning with, Walmart, grocery, telecom, everything else, that didn't include housing. There were no housing payments on it. So whatever Richard is already running through credit cards, he can run an extra $54,000 and put it towards rent for the purpose of getting subs. And it really only makes sense with subs. I'll tell you why in just a second. But that's a total, if you take his everyday spend plus his rent payments together, of $139,000 of spend per year. I do know there's a 3% fee for doing that. But let's just say he eats the 3% fee. I didn't factor that into the math, but you could also say when doing these subs, you're going to earn at least 1 cent per point. I didn't factor that in either. So those things are pretty much going to cancel out. Oh boy, Leon's getting kind of torqued off now. He's really unhappy with this. So he's still got the same 6 credit cards because you no longer can use Built to pay rent or mortgages on non-Built cards. And if he uses a Built card, then he has to give up, subs on something else. Whereas Richard can do everything he was doing before all the way down to here, and then merely through rent get all of these subs. Now he's going to have to be paying some rent in advance because he chose the Capital One Venture X for business, which requires $30K of spend. So he's going to have to pay like 6 months of rent ahead of time, $20K on the business platinum, And we threw in the United Quest card just to round out the numbers and make sure he gets that 139 perfectly with 4K of spend required there. So how's this all going to come out? Leon's he has to lay down for a few moments because he knows this isn't going to be good for him. So he still has the same 775,000 points in the first year, valued at a little over $15,000. But if we take all those things, now Richard has 1.7 million in the first year, which is $34,500 in value. That's almost a million points more, 950,000 more that Richard gets to take advantage of. Because I'm not saying I want to be a renter, but the ability to pay your rent with any credit card and get more subs, that would be nice. That's $19,000 more value that Richard has if he just totally maxes everything out, concentrates on subs. I know it's hard to do, and hits the perfect value. Whew. So now we're talking Maldives territory, and Leon is so jealous that his face is caught on fire. So 950,000 points more could be 12 to 15 more nights in a hotel. It could be between 12 and 20 more business class flights to or from Europe. It could be something like going to England versus going to the Maldives. Honestly, at this point, Richard is probably far more constrained by his family's schedule than he is his ability to earn points and miles. It's just a lot more travel. And, you might be saying something like, well, but he's probably not really going to max it out and hit exactly $84,000 worth of subs every year. You know what? Leon's probably not going to either. So it's a proportionate thing. If one of them needs to take a little break, the other one probably needs to take a little break in year 2 or 3 also. Oh, hey, here we get to meet their families. So here's Leon and his wife and 2 kids. Here's Richard and his wife and 2 kids. Different ladies. They just look kind of similar. So we got 2 guys. Same house, pretty much. Same family, pretty much. Same age, pretty much. Same job type, pretty much. Both work boring office jobs. Just one requires a tie and one doesn't. One has high income with high cost of living. And the other one has low income with low cost of living, relatively. Now, you might argue there's definitely places, if you move to rural Kansas, you'll probably have even lower cost of living. But relatively speaking, a much lower cost of living. So what I'm trying to get at is their lifestyles are really pretty much the same in terms of just getting ahead in life. Leon doesn't have that extra money to put in his 401k, but he's also paying a lot less. So it kind of all comes out in the wash. But when it comes to points and miles, like I said, when you go to the hotel, it costs exactly the same. So the person with a high cost of living, higher income, even if the net result is the same, is going to come out way ahead in the points and miles game. That's why sometimes we complain that like some of those high-end cards, like the Amex Platinum, City Strata, they're really catering to people that live in like New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, that kind of stuff. I'll pause for a moment and then we can catch up on comments and resume. Sam says, I like your albums. Perhaps get a gramophone player for aesthetics. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. My albums are supposed to be hearkening back to like the mid 1960s. So I don't think gramophone would be quite right, but I hear what you said. 521 Taipei says, this has turned into Mortal Kombat, Richard. Just finish him. I think he pretty much did. All right. Resuming the presentation in 5, 4, 3. So we have vastly different point earning capabilities, even though functionally lifestyle is pretty much the same. So I've got tips for what to do if you're a Richard. If you're Richard, keep on earning, man. Go ahead and max it out. No hard feelings. Don't be afraid to kill it with subs. As we pointed out, the difference between, everyday spend, $5,000 or so a year. If you're maxing out subs, $19,000 per year in value. That's pretty significant. And don't be ashamed. Leon would do the exact same thing if he could. Now, what do you do if you're a Leon? I'll admit I'm a little more Leon than Richard. Subs are extra important. You can't afford to garden as much. You've already got the discrepancy. You know how important subs are. If you let those go and you're over here doing everyday spend and Richard's concentrating on subs, you're going to fall even further behind. That's why I always feel like I'm kind of hypocritical. So I might do videos like the Path series or best cards for dads or best cashback combos and those kind of things. Does it matter? Yes. Does it get a lot of views? Yes. But let's be honest. If you just had a strategy where you got 2 or 3 really top-notch subs per year, you'd be doing pretty well. Like right now, we're working on a $15,000 sub because we bought that furnace for an Amex Business Gold for my wife, 200,000 points. Even if we didn't have a furnace, if you could arrange your financial life to prepay a lot of stuff in those 3 months and get that plus one other sub, I'd be coming out better than my Path method any year. Go ahead and use strategic spending. That might fall in a couple different categories. It might be just ordinary strategic spending. Like let's say you go to Staples and buy a prepaid Visa or MasterCard with no purchase fee when they run those specials pretty frequently. And then you take that prepaid MasterCard and use it to pay your utility bills. Hey, you got 5X instead of 2X. That's great. That's just plain old strategic spending. Or you could use a little strategery. You know, you could take your custom caches and go buy something and maybe buy $500 worth of Taco Bell gift cards and use that for Taco Bell. Or you could get into real strategery, which is a little more, let's say, your kind of manufacturing spend. I know some people like to criticize it, but frankly, that's a way you can stay caught up if you don't have naturally high spend, by being very strategic. And then do the best with what you have. Perfect is the enemy of good. So sometimes we get discouraged and we think of the perfect strategy so long that we miss out on opportunities. Or you're like, oh man, if I can't get this awesome sub on the Amex Business Gold for 200,000 points, I'm not even going to do it. Well, you know what? If the pop-up only gives you 125, maybe do the 125. If all you can afford is a Chase Freedom Flex or a Wells Fargo autograph, don't not do it because it's not as good. Still do it. Just pick a sign-up bonus strategy and go with it. Doesn't have to be perfect. Even if it's slightly emotional, you're still doing your best. Even if you optimize your spending a little, even if it's not perfect, even if occasionally you forget a card and put it on the Venture X, do what you can. Don't just say, oh, I'm so discouraged I didn't earn enough points, so screw it. I'm going to pay this bill with a check. And most of all, the most important takeaway we can remember today is please have compassion on us Leons. You can support a points and mile poor like Leon for only $1 a month, or excuse me, $1 a day. That's about the same as a cup of coffee. Won't you go to tiptopjar/Dugroz and make a donation? We would appreciate it. And that's it. That's the end of theme of the day. Okay, let me catch up on here, and then I have a couple celebrations to share. Sam K says, I got a tip. Don't eat yellow snow. It's not lemon flavored. Source King says, Richard's bottleneck will definitely be approvals. I've got close to 100K. I can run through credit cards, but I can't get any more subs. Absolutely. But would you agree, and if not, that's okay, that someone like Leon or me will eventually hit the exact same bottleneck? I'm starting to get to the point of declinations too. Luke says, Leon's still doing pretty good, and if he wanted, he could likely make up the difference. Well, what you're talking about now. Ha ha. Yeah, sometimes I read your mind to say things. Yeah, Leon is doing well if he's maximizing like that. Absolutely. And, in the long run, will his low cost of living be better? Depends on who you ask. I did see a video once by a guy named Geography King who loves geography, but he has also lived in multiple different cities in his life. And he said, if you can, the best strategy is while you are working, live in a place like Los Angeles that has high pay and a high cost of living, because things like your 401k or pension, your ability to contribute to an IRA your Social Security will all be based on that higher income. And then as soon as you retire, move away from that high cost of living city to a place like Des Moines, Iowa, with a much lower cost of living, because you've been contributing at this level of your 401k and your Social Security, you're drawing a much higher amount. Even though your cost of living has gone down, your income has not gone down, proportionally speaking. Have you ever watched Geography King? Jim says, in a way, the low versus high approach works similarly for nutrition and exercise outcomes. Yeah, so like if you had low exercise but low calories, maybe that'd be good. If you had, you're Michael Phelps and you're eating 9,000 calories a day, but you're also swimming 12 miles, high burning, that would be good too. Luke says, Leon needs to make a YouTube channel so he can generate an extra $500 a month of income. He should pick up a side gig, totally. Interestingly, I've thought about this before, and maybe you have too, Luke. YouTube is something of a field leveler, because let's just say, someone gives me a $50 donation. I get the same amount whether I live in Los Angeles or Des Moines. So maybe that's why you occasionally see YouTubers who go full-time move into like the middle of the country or something like that. I don't know if this is an inspiration or not, but Anthony Venture moved from New York State down to Greenville or Greenburg or Greene County, South Carolina, something like that. Maybe that was a factor. I don't know. Or at least escape higher taxes. Makes sense. Thank you to the 66 people who are on board. We'll transition into our theme of the day real soon here. I do need to thank an anonymous tipper who put $60 in the tip jar. 60. Thank you, anonymous tipper. I really appreciate it. Celebrate. Whoa, $50. That's a lot. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's going to help move the needle. All right. So every Friday evening, I will put a community tab out there. And the community tab does a couple different things. One is you can ask me questions, and I will read those questions in just a few moments. And the other thing is you can guess where the picture is from that I decided to share. So here is the picture that I shared last night. It's obviously me in front of a waterfall. Sorry, I zoomed in too much. Right there. So you can guess where that picture was taken. And when I looked last night, nobody had guessed correctly yet. So if you want to do your guess still, that would be totally okay. So let's go ahead and get into those community tab questions right now. Ron Byrne asked this: is your new name Robert Rose or Doug Kiyosaki? I think that has to do with that Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, and I admitted that I haven't actually read it yet. One of you read it. Who was it? Was it Luke? I think Luke, you read it. Did anybody else ever read it? Yeah, so that's just a fun comment. Scott S1727 asked this question: when did you do your first solo trip without your family, and what was it like at first? That's a great question. So I actually have a picture of it because I documented it for posterity. And here it is right here. So I did a video on it back in October of 2019, St. Charles, Missouri, mini adventure. And it's crazy to think about like how excited I was to take this mini adventure. It's sort of like the Olivia Newton-John lookalike who sang Miles Away, Florida this summer, Hawaii someday. Like, people say you have to pay full price. Oh, honey, I've done it twice. Actually went to the same place twice because I liked it so much. So this is on the outskirts of St. Louis. There's a direct flight from Des Moines to St. Louis on Southwest. The first time I did it, I flew down and did a one-way rental and drove the car back. It was just like a 3-day weekend or something like that. St. Charles is just north of the Missouri River from the St. Louis Lambert Airport. And that was my first ever solo trip on Points and Miles. The bottom left is also a picture of the original state capitol. So the very first state capital of Missouri is there. Interesting, I've been to the former state capital. I've never been to the current capital of Missouri. Let me know on my capitals map. Do you think I should include former capitals? Do you think I should include like territorial capitals? Let me know. So you can actually just go to my YouTube channel, sort my videos instead of from latest to oldest, sort it from oldest to latest, and it's like the 7th one on there, something like that. And then somebody asked me earlier, in fact, I think it was you, Jake, asked me something about like in the profile picture for my YouTube channel, it looks like I'm grimacing. Does it look a lot like this right here? Because I actually pulled my profile picture from a still shot of this specific video. And you're right, it is weird because I had a different pair of glasses back then, less square, more oval shape. So, I mean, it's me, but it looks, if somebody said this is actually my younger brother or something like that, you might believe them. So that's why my profile picture kind of looks like I'm grimacing. No, I'm not grimacing. I'm just mid whatever. I actually probably should update my profile picture because it doesn't really seem to fit me. But I also know from various message boards and stuff I've been on that when you update your profile avatar, it seems to really throw people off. Like, oh, who's the new guy? Oh, wait, that's Dugroz. What really throws me off is when somebody updates their name. Like Credit Shifu, you know, used to have like a little credit dude. And he updated his avatar and his name. Instead of Credit Shifu, it's now just Ben Hedges. I kind of understand why, but it's always sort of an interesting phenomenon when someone changes their name from like their catchy niche name to just their regular name. Like someday I go full time and instead of Dugroz Reports, it's just Dugroz. You know, that'd be kind of boring, in my opinion. So that was my first ever solo trip, and there was more to Scott S.'s question. Scott Saul. What was it like? Oh, man, I thought it was so exciting. It was only like, I think I started exploring the day I arrived, stayed one night in a hotel. Actually, I think I started driving back later that day and stayed in Keokuk, Iowa. So it was literally like a 2-day, 1-night trip because that's all I could get away. But I saw like the old state capitol. I saw the Lewis and Clark Monument. I didn't go downtown and see the arch. I went across the river to Illinois. What's the statue of the really tall guy? Robert Wadlow in Alton, Illinois, and a couple other things that are very much me stuff, but it was like I had to do it all in like one afternoon. So that was my first ever solo rip trip that I did. Yeah, but I paid for most of it with points and miles. This was before I had my net zero personal rule. All right, so let's go back to the theme of the day. Picture, we're supposed to guess where I am. Sleepy Rod said, I'm also poor, otherwise I would be throwing money at Leon. Does Leon have a YouTube channel? I'm not really sure. Vincent says, don't go chasing waterfalls, but I love chasing waterfalls. Actually, I'm going to do I got the president's map started. I've got most of my state capitals map done. I'm going to do a waterfalls map too. Yuri G said, I moved from California to Tennessee 6 years ago and can't be happier. I bet Tennessee has a lot lower cost of living, huh? Jim says, Angel Falls, Venezuela. Dugroz is just enormously tall. Well, I am like 6'3", so that's true. Jake Loves Jesus said, I see you're wearing an Iowa State shirt. What did you go to college for? I did not take a very straight path through college, and I went to college just for the sake of going through college and changed my mind like 7 times. So it's kind of a long story. I'm probably not going to get into it today. Maybe I'll do a members-only video sometime explaining my very wiggly, winding path through college. But I went to a small private Bible college. I took some classes at a community college here in the Des Moines area. I went to Iowa State for a year and a half, and I went to Drake, which is a private 4-year college. So, yeah, I've been to 4 different colleges. Tia Rico's talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Read it, and I've been to a real estate seminar with Kiyosaki in early 90s in Phoenix. Don Kim says, please stick to the rivers and the lakes that you used to. That's kind of appropriate because we don't have any waterfalls here in central Iowa. Texas Dog says, Mike Newland is an appreciated sponsor of this channel. Now, let's not assume the anonymous donor for $50 was Mike Newland. Whoever it was chose to tip anonymously or accidentally, one of the two. Tariq says, I do follow him. I assume you're talking about the Richard Kiyosaki guy. This is about Ben Hedges, formerly known as Credit Shifu, I assume. Luke says, Ben wanted to expand from credit cards to personal finance and investing, hence the name change. It's a great example of how really hard it is to expand. Yeah, and the other thing I've noticed is there is kind of a natural plateau in the world of points and miles. somewhere around like 200,000, 250,000 subscribers, it seems like growth really slows down because there's only so many of us into Points and Miles. So I do see a lot of people not a lot. I see a large handful of people expand into something else, whether it's like Jake Bro getting into the war in Ukraine or Ben Hedges getting into personal finance. He also has the Business Shifu channel. I think he has a channel about skiing, and he has a channel about learning, it's either Chinese or Japanese. I don't remember which one. I apologize. So yeah, and he runs a small Airbnb. All right, well, nobody guessed it correctly. If you don't know the exact place, do you want to guess the general location? Here's another picture from a different angle using my selfie stick. And here's a picture of me. See, that's me right there. A wide shot picture there. So, dong dong. All right, I'll just give it away. So this is when I was in West Virginia a couple weeks ago. There's a large, well-known waterfall. I believe it's the largest waterfall in the state of West Virginia. Very beautiful, easily accessible, called Blackwater Falls. But then that's not what this is. If you drive about what Google Maps will say is about 15 minutes away, but in reality, it's more like 30 to 40 minutes because there's a really terrible dirt gravel road that you can only go like 5 miles an hour on. You can get to this other waterfall, appropriately named Douglas Falls. And this one does not have any public stairs or anything to get there. And when I got there, I was the only person. I was like, yes, because a couple of the other waterfalls I'd been to were like too touristy. And you had obnoxious teenage girls ruining it by saying, oh my gosh, my hair looks terrible. And I'm like, we're trying to have a moment of serenity. Serenity now, as George Costanza's dad would say. So just having peace and quiet and nothing but nature sounds was awesome. After I had been there a little while and had my, first couple pictures, which looked more like this, which I put on a tripod. I've got a Bluetooth clicker. It's more like a monopod that can expand to have a 3-part base. Then I went a little further away, and there's this old stone wall I was able to sit in that was probably built by the coal mining companies back in the 1800s. Hopefully it wasn't going to fall down. And this big rock here in the middle, a young lady came along with her dog and jumped from the edge to this rock and started taking pictures. And I can't blame her, but I was going to take a picture for her and send it to her. My phone was too old. But when I got up there, she said, hey, it's loud. There's a waterfall. Do you have an iPhone? I was like, yeah, I have an iPhone. She said, do you want me to take your picture and airdrop it to you? I said, that'd be great. I'll airdrop you. You're in the background of one of the ones I took too. She was able to airdrop me this picture. I was not able to airdrop her, and I apologize. So if you're watching this, lady with dog, let me know, and I'll try to return the favor and get it back to you. That's a log right here, but look how polished it is. So that's why I got this good quality picture. My old iPhone wouldn't have been anywhere near that good. Look at those dad calves. My son always said, I'm so jealous of your dad calves. It's like the one part of my body that looks kind of fit. Okay. Final comment time. Last chance to drop a super chat, super sticker, donate a membership, or go to the tip jar, which is in the description box, and contribute to the channel. Gold Homer says, crap, I'm late. Now I'll never know who doesn't take Amex. You have to go back and watch the whole thing. You have no choice, Gold Homer. Sam says, I'm going to make sausages and onion gravy with mashed potatoes. Awesome. That sounds great. I don't actually like onions, but it's because of texture, not because of flavor. So if it was onion flavored gravy, I could just pick out the big chunks and still enjoy it. That actually sounds really good. I like British food. All right. So to honor those who gave contributions, and I missed one. MR also gave a tip jar tip. Sorry about that, MR. Are you still on board? If you are, make a comment and wave at me. MR donated $8 in the tip jar and says, keep up the great work, sir. Thank you so much. That was from an hour ago. Celebrate. Thank you for supporting. I really, really appreciate that. So, tip jar. We have an anonymous tipper gave $60. Juan in the MIA gave $3. MR gave $8. And then if we turn to those who gave on the platform, Tom Gramer got the ball rolling with 1 membership, just as good as a $3 super chat. Gentleman Explorer joined as a member, also just as good as $3. Filmo celebrates 30, count them, 30 months of membership from over there in the Appalachian Mountains of New York State. Hope you have a great weekend. Travel Fan drops 149, and Texas Dog dropped 99 cents. Yuri thinks British food is awful. I'll have to agree to disagree there. Sam K says, thanks for the fantastic live stream. You are a legend. Thank you so much. I appreciate your support, Sam. Tariq says, yes for the capitals, wants me to release the map of state capitals. Or are you saying, yes, you want me to include former capitals and territorial capitals? I'm going to assume that's what you mean. Source King says, I would never fault a YouTuber for going more commercial. You should get rewarded for your effort, and I'll keep watching Fiercely Loyal, but I'll always remember the good old days. You know, I feel like even if I became insanely popular and with a mere 3,000 channel subscribers, it's going to be a while. I would still do at least a third of my videos like what we're doing right now, I would think. And then my members only tiers, I could even have like one tier called the old school members where all I talk about is this kind of stuff. Rupert Pond says, I don't think I've ever heard anyone willingly say that they like British food. Unique palate. So I'm a meat and potatoes kind of guy. I don't like spicy things at all. So it's easy for me. I mean, I had like chopped mutton, steaks of various kinds, of course, fish and chips, hamburgers. Works for me. Sam thinks it's not boring. We have a large variety of meals. Jim says, channel name change. Dugroz calves and hiking miles. I'm so flippin' athletic. It's ironic because I'm not athletic at all. I'm not like a big time hiker at all, but I really love some aspects of the great outdoors. In fact, in my list of videos I want to make someday on my phone, but haven't yet, I've got one that's called like something like, I love the great outdoors and I hate sleeping in a tent. Something along those lines. Gordon Ramsay might differ, says Mike Newland. Now, differs with Sam or differs with Yuri? You'll have to hit me up here. Is Mike Ramsay a fan of British food or not? Gold Homer says, everything I learned about the Midwest, I learned from Dugroz. I need to do more Midwest videos. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here, reporting live from Pierre, South Dakota. Is it Pierre or Pierre? Something along those lines. And that brings us to our natural stopping point. Thank you so much for everybody who hopped on board. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, especially to those of you who made contributions. Have a great rest of your day. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks.